Hello, hello, and welcome to another segment of Peeling Back the Layers with the Other Woman magazine. I am LaVender Shedrick Williams. I am the owner of Candy Publishing and the creator of the Other Woman magazine. Tonight we have a wonderful topic that is much needed for discussion, men and mental health. And I just want to thank in advance our guest, Mr. Mark Shipman, for being transparent and willing to share his journey, his experience, his life dealing with mental health. Before I bring Mark on, I want to share quickly, use your voice. If you have a book, a business, a brand that you would like to share, this is something new with Candy Publishing, the Candy Network. Just give me a call and I can have you online, on live, use your voice to give a little exposure to what you do, your passion. And also coming up is a Candy Publishing workshop. This is actually tomorrow in Selma, Alabama. A writer's workshop. We're not just talking about writing books, we're talking about writing, period, writing blogs, writing for magazines, writing for your local newspaper. If you're a writer, it's time to write. And without further ado, let me bring on my guests. Yay! Hey, Mr. Mark, did you take off your mute?
Hey
Hey.
there, how you doing?
Wonderful, wonderful. I've already thanked you already for being transparent. I know this is not easy for anyone and probably even more difficult for a man. So thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you for agreeing to do this. It not only helps men who may watch this later on or tune in, but it helps the women of the men as well and family members. We're talking about men and mental health. Before we get there, why don't you share a little bit, introduce us. Who are you, Mr. Mark Shipman, and what do you do?
I'm Mark Shipman, and I'm just a man. I try to be the best man I can be, the best husband to my wonderful wife, and the best father to my kids. Um, and I've learned to own my stuff, and
Mm,
that's where all this come from. Being able to talk about what goes on with me as a
mm,
man. What we talk about tonight is not based on anything I read in a book or any studies. It's simply what I've dealt with and what I've seen from people that are near and dear to my heart, what
mhm.
we've gone through, so to speak. But just a man. That's
Just a
all.
man. I like that. I like that. And your beautiful wife that you're speaking of, Wendy, author Wendy Shipman,
That's right.
you guys have been on together, and I just recently had her on speaking about her life and dealing with depression. And she is excellent about sharing herself on social media, TikTok and Facebook and wherever else she is, just truly unmasking and exposing herself. And I had to have you on because I needed to have you on alone because it's one thing for a woman to deal with mental health, but men don't talk about it. Women will get together and we'll talk and we'll share, we'll vent. But when it comes to a man, you guys pretty much tight lipped. And before we continue, I want to read this. It says, according to the National Institute of Mental Health, men are 4 times more likely to commit suicide than women. Stigma about mental health is deadly. Men deny their symptoms because they learn that acknowledging emotional pain is a sign of weakness and asking for help is shameful. And to back that up, I want you to respond to that. One thing about the Other Woman magazine is I love transparency. And we have a gentleman on our The Other Woman team who wrote an article in a previous issue, Men and Mental Illness. And he deals with depression, and he's very open about his life with depression. And I don't know if you all can read it, but it says, I initially dealt with mental and physical fatigue, which slowly progressed into sleeping disorders, total isolation from family and friends, and unexplained feelings of hopelessness. And I like what he says at the bottom, it's not a weakness, it's an illness. And that is what we're talking about, Mark. So why don't you share you dealing with depression and what I just read and shared from Robert Congress?
First of all, what he said is 100% correct. Um, I think what I had to learn about depression is that you can't, for lack of a better term, compare yours to others. Um,
Mm,
I think that's why I was in denial or just didn't believe I was depressed for so long, because I saw how other people acted, or how they didn't act when they were depressed. And I wasn't like that. I guess I was a better functioning person that was dealing with depression. Um, and so it took a long time. Matter of fact, uh, I wasn't really diagnosed until 2020, when we were, you know, uh, stuck in the house for the whole year.
the
That's when
pandemic.
it really started to get heavy, so to speak. Um, and so
What were
I
some of the
started,
symptoms?
um, I would be sitting there. I've had a good life. I have a good life. So I haven't had it where I've been homeless or hungry or anything like that. So I haven't had a whole lot of bad days, so to speak.
Mhm.
But I would be sitting there at the computer at work, doing my work, and just the overwhelming feeling to start crying for no reason.
Mhm.
Just all of a sudden, I would feel heavy, like my arms would get heavy, and I wanted to cry, and I had no idea why, because I'm focused on work. I'm doing data entry, so I got to keep them lines straight. And all of a sudden, just a wave of sadness to the point of tears would hit me, and I couldn't figure
Mhm.
out why. I'm thinking this should be happy. My family's here. No one's dealing with COVID. We're all in the house together. I get to spend every day with my wife as opposed to getting up, going to work. We got a little puppy to play with and all that. Most folks would love to be in a situation where you get to work from home. Everybody don't have that luxury. And here I
Right.
was experiencing it, and I was getting sad about a minute. It wasn't
Mhm.
like my family was bothering me because I'm up 6 o'clock in the morning, everybody else sleep, just quiet time. And during those quiet moments is when I just felt the saddest and just the urge to cry, and just I felt hopeless, and I couldn't figure out why. And I told my doctor, I feel like I want to cry. And then all of a sudden it goes from that to I'm jittery, my heart, I would start having palpitations and things of that nature. When I talked to a doctor before about palpitations, because I've had this for a long time, but no one said anything. When I told my physician about I would have sudden palpitations and get hot and clammy and start sweating, he
Mhm.
told me to cut back on the caffeine. So I stopped, I cut back on the caffeine, and I was still having them. I had no idea what it was. And to be honest, I saw Wendy have an anxiety attack.
Your wife.
Yes, my wife Wendy, she had one, and I'm looking like, what's wrong? And the way she acted was the way I felt, and she explained it. She like,
Mhm.
I just had an anxiety attack. All of a sudden, my heart beat was off and sweating. I'm looking like, I said, I get that a lot. She like, well, for me, it's how I feel when I'm having anxiety issues. And so when I started talking to my doctor, my new doctor, and he explained, he said, those are panic attacks. He said, and they can last a few minutes. To be honest with you, they can last a few hours, a few days. You just don't know. And so we kept discussing it.
Hold on right there, Mark.
Yeah.
So we're talking about why men don't go to the doctor, why they don't go get diagnosed, why they don't talk about it. What prompted you to tell your doctor about it? And how long did you deal with it before you made the decision to tell your doctor?
Um, to be honest with you, I've had those feelings. It really started happening in the summer of 1999. I went through a divorce, and that really, I would have, just bad, grouchy days. And, a lot of time when I mentioned I wasn't, feeling my normal laughing self, people blame it on my zodiac. Well, you a Cancer, so you moody. I'm like, I don't follow zodiac and look at the stars and stuff. So I said, I don't think that's it. But so we talking about 1999 when I first started having those feelings up until 2020. So 21 years I dealt with it. But like I
Wow.
said, because I was being able to function during depression, I just shook it off as, bad feeling. It'll be gone, and, just keep going.
Mm.
One thing I want to say here, when I deal with this, I like to listen to music. And there's a song by a guy named Music Soul Child. The song is "Teach Me How to Love."
Oh, I
A
love
lot of
it.
time we listen to songs, man, how we were taught. People my age, I'm 52. People around my age, this is how we were taught in the Black community. And the lyrics said, I was told that the true definition of a man is to never cry,
Mm.
work till you die. You got to survive. Always be a rock for your family. Protect them by all means and give them everything that they need. That was it. So nobody wanted to hear that you were feeling bad, or nobody wanted to hear that you were going through something. Because soon as you, man, I'm good. Hey, man, everybody going through it.
Right.
So you stop talking to people, and when you deal with, people not wanting to hear it, and grown folks don't make excuses, and you just push that. Okay, I'll deal with it, but we don't. We
Mm.
don't talk. Most of the Black Southerners grew up in very religious families. So as soon as we start dealing with mental issues,
Mm-hmm.
just pray about it. And
Mm-hmm.
that's where we left. Just pray about it. And so we don't talk about stuff like that. We don't
So
talk
for
about stuff like that.
20 something years, you had nobody to talk to, not even one person, Mark.
Sometimes I would talk to my best friend. He passed away in 2018, my friend Sean Wade. But even then, there's a lot of stuff that you just don't talk about. You just don't. You have this mentality that um, men are not supposed to be weak. You're not supposed to, when you're talking about what you're dealing with, a lot of folks consider it complaining.
Mm.
So nobody wants to hear you complain. And
Mm.
then what we what I used to feel when you start discussing mental illness, you were talking about crazy people. Nobody wanted to have that stigma. Nobody
Right.
really talked about mental anything unless it was dealing with people who were dealing with mental retardation. That was it. You didn't talk about anything else. You didn't talk about depression. If you were depressed, he needed to pray about it. If he's having an anxiety attack, he just needs to calm down. If you got a child with an ADHD, which is a mental problem, uh, his bad butt just needs to sit down somewhere, or he
Right.
need a spanking. That's what we were taught. No one really looked at the underlying issue with what was going on. So
Right.
you don't,
And they
you
didn't
know,
know how to deal with it. They
yeah.
didn't know what to do with that information.
We didn't want to go to a regular doctor to see about your health. So you didn't want to see nobody about your mental health,
Mm.
especially growing up in small town where somebody might see you walking out the doctor's office, and then you
Yeah.
have that stigma.
Yeah.
We allow our pride, which is downfall, to keep us from getting what we need. One thing I've learned about the younger generation, they are a little more open to
They
saying
are.
they have problems, or um, when they act out, you start to see this, the signs, and they'll talk. Or if you suggest for them to seek mental health, therapy, they don't have the issues. Um, the first time I ever spoke to someone concerning my mental health, I feel like I was tricked, and it was a blessing in disguise. My youngest son, his mother passed away in 2016, so I started to get him therapy. And people tell me, you need to see somebody. Nah, I'm good. That's why I tell folks. And I still tell folks I have to get out of there, but I still tell folks, even on my worst day, I'm good, because that's just how we were programmed. And so I took my son in to see a therapist, a grief counselor. And so while he was there, another counselor told me she wanted to, talk to me to get some background on my son, what was going on. 2 hours later, I think we mentioned my son's name, and the rest of it was about how I was dealing with stuff.
Mm.
And I walked out feeling lighter. There's no true healing. It's how can you deal with this? How can you make it your day-to-day function? Even when it feels like your world's falling in. Um, how do you smile when you feel like crying?
So
And I
how do
think
you
it's
do that,
frustrating.
Mark? How do you do that? Because naturally, I don't know you personally. I know you from doing the lives. You're a pretty funny guy. You could
That's
pass as
it.
being a comedian. I'm serious. You have me rolling some of your Facebook posts, and I'm thinking, Mark deals with depression. So do you feel like sometimes you hide behind?
Most definitely. My coping mechanism when I was younger was anger. You know,
Mm.
I get mad when I start to feel bad. I get mad, so all of a sudden I'm snapping at everybody else. Um, and I realized that humor, something that makes me feel better, even when I'm feeling my worst, to hear someone else laugh. Coping mechanism became humor. Um, because I'm willing to laugh at myself. I can, I tell a joke or say something about me that's the truth, but I don't get embarrassed by who I am or what
Right,
I say or what I
right.
do, because I'm me all day. And so when I'm feeling bad, I try to turn to music or crack a joke,
Mm.
something to get me out of my own head for a few minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And that really helps. Even though a lot of times my friends say, where do you get this stuff from? I said, sadly, it all comes out of my own head. I don't know if that's a good or bad thing, but I learned to laugh even when I feel like crying.
Mm.
Um,
And what was the final straw for you to accept medication? You dealt with it, you said 20 something years without being diagnosed. What was the breaking point for you to accept the fact, okay, I have depression, I need medication?
um, Now that was hard because I'm the type that will go a week with a headache because I don't want to take
Mm.
aspirin. Um, what really got me to taking medication is that I needed to be in a good place or a good space for my family. It ain't just me. I got a wife and kids, so you watch all these movies, you see them on Lifetime, where the husband, his coping mechanism is to be mean or violent towards his family.
Right.
Not that I was at that stage, but now as far as I would get sort of sullen and I don't want to talk and just grouchy old man for no reason. And I realized, I don't want to be an old man by myself. So I need to do what I need to do to get my
Yeah.
mind right. And if I can't do it without medication,
Mm-hmm.
then I had no choice. The only thing I did ask when I talked to him, because like I said, people react differently to different medications. I was scared for a long time to take anything because I watched children take Ritalin that dealt
And
with
it always,
ADHD.
they are.
And
Yeah.
I'm looking like, when I see this kid before you started taking this, he backflips and laughing and jumping. And now, he's just kind of there. And I got
Right.
kind of worried. I was like, if I take this to get me out of my depressive state or to help me with my depression, but then I become a zombie, I'm still no good to anyone else,
Right.
and so that's what I was worried with. The medication really affect how I function, but I realized that I had to do something. I had to do
Mm,
something, to sit there just about every morning, weeks at a time, ready to cry for no reason
mm.
or suddenly angry for no reason. And then suddenly anxious. Just a cycle. In a matter of hour or two, I'm like, I can't do this. I can't do this. And
And it was
so,
difficult on your family, I'm sure, not being diagnosed, not really knowing what was wrong with you, not knowing what to say, not knowing what would trigger, not knowing anything.
yeah,
So you were not only helping yourself, but you were
yeah,
helping your family, the relationship, your children, your wife. It, I can't imagine how difficult it must have been. So
it
you're on medication now, correct?
yes. And there are
Okay.
some parts of it that still now medication is not a cure all. All it
Right.
does is it helps you with functioning. I still, and what's funny is that I used to be the type, I was told a lot to shut up because I was constantly talking, just wide open. And now my family, my other family, my sisters and cousins think like, you don't talk. You sometimes I won't answer my phone. When someone called me, I just can't talk. I'm one of
Mm-hmm.
them now. Text me or email me, then talk. So a lot of it that closed off, like the quote you showed earlier about a gentleman, I
Right.
understand that. You kind of isolate yourself. Um, a lot of times when the phone rings and I see my someone from the family or someone I know call, anxiety, something bad's happened. Why? Because we've been living in craziness for the last 2 or 3 years. So when I see a name pop up on the phone, I'm like, I can't talk. I can't talk.
Mm.
Um, and I'm not one for just small talk chit chat. So if you call me, I need to know exactly what's going on.
What do you
And,
want? Is
yeah,
it
and I'm
important?
kind of blunt like that. You call me, hey, what you need? But I would just call it. Oh, I'm not used to folks just calling to check on me. And so I became isolated. Then not only that, we couldn't go nowhere. We couldn't see nobody. It got to the
Like
point
in
I
the
have
house,
family.
right?
Yeah, I have family live down the street. And I called them one day. I said, I need y'all to come out on your front porch. I said, I need to lay eyes on you to help me. And so we drove up and I stayed in my truck with the windows down and we talked from the truck and they stood on their front porch. That's just how bad it was, you know. Um, I I try not to complain, but it was hard, you know. Wendy gets on me
So
sometimes about
let me
why
ask you,
you won't talk.
speaking
Yes.
of your wife and not feeling like talking, how did you all even come together? She deals with depression. you deal with depression. You guys have been married for how long?
4 years.
4 years. Okay. Explain that, Mark. How did that happen? Or was it the fact that having someone in your life, did it make you feel better? Did it help with dealing with the
Well,
depression? How do you get to know someone and get married and feeling like you felt?
well, Wendy is my peace.
Mm,
I can say that when I'm, and she doesn't have to talk. When I'm feeling
mm,
depressed, when I'm feeling bad, or even when I'm feeling anxious, she can just come and like put her hand on my shoulder, and I'm okay. And one thing I think with both of us, um, she kind of likes a little peace and quiet, so it don't hurt her feelings if I don't talk. But
yeah.
we just need to be near each other. Like we'll be sitting down watching TV, and I can just put my foot up against hers, and the world's okay.
Mm,
Um,
that's
we came
powerful.
we came together. I think we did probably all the talking we needed to do on the phone before we ever met. So things became a little easier. But yeah, there are days when she know I'm not feeling it. She won't say anything. She'll just come put her hand on me. Um, we've learned in our family, most time you call people, hey, and all this. We don't say how you doing. We ask, are you all right? Because how you doing is kind of general what everybody say. And we might ask each other that several times a day. You all right? When the kids call, you all right? That don't mean how's your day going. We mean how your mental state. Are you all right? You
But
know.
Mark, earlier you said, "I'm good." That's what you say all the time. I'm good.
Yeah.
So are we supposed to accept that from our friends and family? Say, I'm good. How do you know when to believe that?
It depends on who you're talking to.
Okay.
It depends on who you're talking to. Um, I got certain family members now. If they ask me if how I'm feeling, I will tell them. I got other family members and friends that only call when they need to get things off their chest.
Okay.
You understand what I'm saying? So if
Yeah.
they how you
Yeah.
doing, they don't want to know how you doing.
Right.
They
So you
want you
know
to
who to
listen.
answer.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And I've learned to be more open with the kids. As a parent, it's your job to let them know everything's okay, even when
Yeah.
it's not. But I'll tell them, you okay? They just ain't that day. We won't even get into detail. They'll just know, it's a rough day emotionally. Um, I get frustrated. Um, and I'm getting older. I can't, common sense tell me I can't do the things I used to do physically.
Hmm.
However, I'm still frustrated, and that'll start, when I I, I got a habit stuff would just fall out of my hand. I'll drop something. But then because I drop it, I know it's gonna happen. It's been happening for a while. I still
Right.
get frustrated.
Right.
Still just start to go in that dark place, and so I just tell them today wasn't a good day, but tomorrow be better.
Mark, what would you share with family members, wives, the females of these men who have been diagnosed or who haven't been diagnosed, when those, I like calling them those valley moments, those dark days, what would you tell us in how to deal with that?
To just be there.
Just be there.
We when someone's sad, you can find ways to cheer them up when they're sad. When they're depressed, that doesn't work. And I think that's one of the issues I had dealing with depression, period, is because it was used out of context. I would hear someone say, I'm depressed. I'm depressed. What's going on? Well, I had wanted to go to do such and such, but my money ain't right. That's not depression. That's disappointment.
Right.
Or I wanted to do this, but it didn't work out that way. That's not depression. That's disappointment. That's sadness. Somebody's sad, you can change their mood with a
Right.
joke or just
Right.
being there,
Right.
talking to them. Depression's not that.
I don't
Depression
think
deals with
people,
more than just your mental state. It deals with your body makeup. It deals with
yeah,
with
yeah.
the way
Chemical
your
balance.
chemical
Yes.
balance. So it's not
Oh,
like when folks when you see it, it'll be okay.
right.
You learn not to say those things.
Mm. To make
Tomorrow be
things.
better. And then if they're in the same way tomorrow, you're gonna say the same thing. Well, tomorrow be better. Well, when is tomorrow gonna be today? So when
Mm-hmm.
you're dealing with someone, you see their mental state starts to change. When you see that, sometimes they don't have as many signs as others, but just be there. And like
Just
I
be
said,
there.
that's why we ask each other, "Are you all
Right.
right?" Not how you doing.
Right.
And
Right.
guys, we don't want to go to the doctor. You know, we live in a society that we get too caught up on how other people perceive us, especially how other men look at us. If you
Mm.
want to admit that you're dealing with mental illness, so I'm good. That's what I did. That's what we still do as men, especially black men. We don't want to go to the doctor. We definitely don't want to get our mental health checked. I'll be all right. I'll shake it off. Ain't that much shaking in the world. You're
Right.
not going to shake it off. And not everybody needs medication. I started out with grief counseling with my son for almost 2 years. It still didn't get any better. And others, it might. It might be how you dealing with it, how you talk to cope with it, and you might be able to deal. Not everyone, and I think that's something else that scares us, is they feel like if you admit you have some sort of mental illness, they automatically gonna put you on some medicine. But that's not the case. That's not the case with a lot of stuff we deal with. For instance, I'm diabetic. For years, I didn't have to take medication. And the doctor tells me that the more weight I lose, more exercise, I can get off medication. So we have to stop thinking as soon as we mention the doctor, they're going to give us a pill for something.
Right. Right. And you have a question, Dr. Winborn, along with the medication, do you do group or individual therapy?
Individual.
Okay.
Um, I
And what
have
does that
a,
consist of?
oh, I see it now. It wasn't, I'm so, um,
Thank you,
see,
Wendy.
it just started popping up. Y'all excuse me.
That's okay. I got you. I
This
got you.
this is a serious topic, but I have to find the funny in everything in order to press on, so to speak.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, we definitely do that. Now, my father's side of the family is very close knit. My mother's side of the family is sadly it's only one left. And the brothers that my uncles do check on each other. And we check on them as well. Uh, yes, yes, Mr. Congress, having the necessary support around you. And see, that's just it. Folks ain't gonna help you if they don't know you need help. And we don't tell nobody. The
Right.
worst we want to do is look weak. I've dealt with depression um, since '99, Dr. Winborn. But there are times where I will go 4 or 5 days um, just feeling down. It was worse um, maybe around 2017 before I met Wendy. Is that I know that year was pretty much every day. Every day I
Hmm.
felt like, I had suffered a loss in 2016 and I just felt like, that's what I was dealing with. But it wasn't. It wasn't. It was years of things that would come to mind, you know, uh, and I realized that I had been dealing with it a long time. Um,
Mark, I think about how when you have to go out in public, or do you work from home or do you
well,
leave?
I'm currently working from home, but I work in office. I work in office.
Okay. It's got to be mentally draining for you to have to put on that mask? I can't even imagine to put on that mask when you don't even feel like probably getting out of the bed and you got to go and perform. You have to go and act like nothing is
Yeah.
wrong. So when you get home, you probably have absolutely nothing to give.
And she kind of, Wendy gives me a moment. However, I like to be up under her. So even when I ain't got nothing to give, I'm still, find that little
Mm,
extra.
mm.
The
She's a
key to marriage,
godsend.
yes,
You
the
guys are
key to
godsends
marriage
for
is
each
that you
other.
have to keep working. You
Yeah.
know, after you say the I do's and they throw the rice, the job is not over.
That's all right.
It's not over. You
Yeah,
know,
it's not over.
marriages
It's
work
just
24/7.
beginning. Yeah.
Now, the question is your marriage happy work, fun work, or hard work? Because you can make it all three pretty much in one conversation. So you you
Yeah.
you have to keep going. I
Marriage
think
is hard in itself.
yes.
Put
I think my
mental illness
coworkers
on it, my gosh.
I think my coworkers read my vibe a lot because some days they already know it's one rule. If I'm at work and they don't smell coffee, they don't come in my office. They don't. And then they
Okay.
kind of go by their mood. If they come in and I'm short, and a lot of times I'll make eye contact and then I kind of look away. They kind of know. I've been at my job now for 16, almost 16 years, so they
They
kind
know
of know
you.
me. They kind of
Hmm.
know me, but
Hmm.
it is hard. It's hard. Especially when you're used to being the life of the party, and sometimes there's no funny left. You know,
Mm.
So, but we have a good group at work. Is that even if we're not all friends, we all try to be very cordial with each other. But it gets hard. It's harder dealing with um, the times I have to deal with outside vendors and things of that nature.
Hmm.
When they call you with an attitude, especially
Hmm.
when this doesn't have anything to do with what you actually do at the job, but
Right.
you the
Right.
first one to answer the phone. Yeah,
Right.
that can be a little rough. But then I remember that my family like things like sleeping indoors and eating and stuff, so I got to keep the job. And
The
so you
necessities.
press on. Yeah.
Mark, you said press on. I need you to speak to those men who may be feeling some of those dark days, experience some of those symptoms, isolating themselves from family and friends, um, just not being able to find hope, feeling hopelessness in their lives, who won't go to the doctor, who have not been diagnosed. I need you to speak to them.
Listen, fellas, we've gone through this, like I said, long as I can remember, and I'm 52 years old. Um, our health matters. Whether you believe it or not, black men still matter. Whatever you're dealing with, it's hard to talk to family about, um, especially when you're dealing with mental issues because of judgment. Um, Psychologists and psychiatrists are there to listen. They will give advice as much as they can, but they're there to listen. They're not there to judge. They don't know you from Adam's house cat. I think the reason social media has thrived like it is because you have the opportunity to talk to people that you don't have to see face to face. Do that with people you don't know. Do that. Call somebody. It feels bad. You're frustrated. We're dealing with the outside issues, and you're also dealing with your mental health. Um, it's not a weakness to admit that you need help. It's not a weakness to seek help. Um, what it is, it makes no sense to suffer when there are avenues available. you know, when we start dealing with mental health and trying to uh, talk to doctors and things, you know, if there's financial issues, you can find free group help. You can find free or a reduced price or something therapists. Uh, the suicide hotline, although it says suicide, it's there for someone to talk to you when you're feeling like you can't make it. But we can't just give up. You can't just give up. And you can't deny and keep hiding it. Because what happened is the hole keeps getting deeper, the light keep getting darker. And eventually you either cave in on yourself or you lash out. And lashing out is definitely not the thing to do. We can't worry about what other men think about us. We can't worry about the stigmatism of being considered weak because we need help. Everybody needs help in some form of fashion. When we hear folks say you hear the term self-made millionaire. Nah, somebody helped them along the way. You can't do everything by yourself, man. You can't. You can't. And you know when you're not feeling you. You know when your mood changes, and you know when you're feeling, like you can't press on. Now, she mentioned isolation, isolating from your family and your friends. I kind of disagree and agree. I wouldn't say go into complete isolation, but to be honest, there are people in our family and friends that there are times we don't need to be around them. For instance, if you're dealing with alcoholism and you got a family member to drink, you can't hang out. Not if, it's the same way. If you're dealing with depression, you're dealing with anxiety, you're dealing with a mental state that is not the best, then you do not need to be around negative people. I don't care how much you love them. You don't. In order to help
that don't genuinely love you.
Yes. Yeah. And I told him, I don't have to be standing right next to you to love you. And I tell people all the time, I can love you and not like you at all. So I don't have to be around you. And you shouldn't feel obligated to be around people when they bring you down. You're trying to fix your mental state, and we got to swallow our pride on this thing. We got to swallow our pride when it comes to our health, period. You know how you feeling. We shouldn't be eating this or that, but we do it anyway. We don't want to go to the doctor because the doctor's going to find something. Like I felt fine until I went to the doctor. You told me I had this, that, the other. Okay. But if you don't go, you wait too late, you might not be here. We got to go. We got to take care of ourselves physically and mentally.
Mark, have you ever contemplated suicide?
No. Because even the times I don't like me or like my situation, I love me every day. I've had times where I wanted to just go away from everybody, but I always plan on coming back. I've never been in that state. I've never felt like that. I felt hopeless, but I've never felt like ending it all would help.
So if we have those listening who may have contemplated or may be thinking, there's a new number. It's the suicide and mental health. All you have to do is dial 988. You don't have to do the whole 1-800, all this. The 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline is a United States-based suicide prevention network of over 160 crisis centers that provides 24/7 service via a toll-free hotline. 988 is the number. So if you all have friends or family members or a spouse, significant other, that's an easy number to remember, 988. And also, I wanted to share mental health among men often goes untreated because they are far less likely to seek mental health treatment than women. It's been a lot of taboo subject for men to acknowledge they may be equally prone to mental health stressors, just as women. As I read these, as I read them earlier, it's like, when did mental health become a gender issue? You know what I'm saying? It's like different from men and women. It doesn't matter your gender, but I guess it's the whole male, um, I don't know, is it safe to say ego? The whole male
Yes,
makeup?
ego, ego. There's in my experience, there's a different type of pride between men and women. You know, we are taught that we don't need nobody. That's what we're taught. Most women are only taught that when they've already gone through things that have caused mental issues. You understand what I'm saying? But
Yeah,
men we tell we gotta do it all. We
right,
gotta do it
right.
all. And so there's a different type of pride, you know. Um, the roles of a man and a woman have kind of blended over the years, but there's still this mentality that we have to be bigger than what we are. We have to show toughness, being hard. And so I I don't know the actual numbers, but when you think about it, no numbers will be correct if people don't admit the problem.
You're
All you
right.
have is
And
general ideas. Because think about it. If you're doing a study and you're gonna ask them, do you suffer from mental issues? Women might say, yeah, I have some tough days. Us guys, nah, I'm good. So
I can't
your
imagine,
numbers are going to be thrown off.
I can't
So
imagine having
whatever
to deal with
statistics
that.
you have or just that, they're
Yeah.
not no way they're accurate. No
Wow.
way.
And this Facebook user says men don't talk, not because they don't want to, they feel that they can't talk.
You're absolutely right. And I think society has done that to us, especially especially with the social media scene. Um, if a man doesn't talk, he's insensitive, he's a robot. If he talks too much, he's complaining, he's whining, or he's a mama's boy. Let's put it that way. Um, a lot of times, and I know this is like I said, just my thoughts. I have no paper. I'm just seeing how people react. Um, we live in a society that is still homophobic. So when a man hears a woman say, "You acting like a girl, whining like a little," well, I don't want to cuss because kids might be watching. That bothers us. That bothers us, and so we're not going to admit it. We can't. He's absolutely right. They feel they can't. You feel
So it
like you
goes
can't.
back to what Congress said about
Amen.
having the necessary, what did he say? Having the necessary support around you is vital to create an environment of safety and a non-judgment environment. So yes, our culture, women, we're good saying, you're a weak man, or get up and do something. What's wrong with you? Whatever we say. So not to put the pressure on women, but to be mindful of the words we use. Because if you're living with someone who hasn't been diagnosed and they are dealing with depression, you could say something, we could say something to just truly send them over the edge. It shouldn't be our responsibility. It should be the person's responsibility to get help. But the least we can do, if we notice a character change or something with our significant other, our spouse, is to create an environment of safety to make them feel okay to not be okay. That's the least we can do because we're not therapists, we're not experts in it. All we know is the man that we love is having a bad day and I don't know what the hell to do. I don't know what to do. So ladies, if you're watching, share this. Please share this. This segment. I believe more men deal with mental health issues, mental illness than not. If they all wore green, we'd probably be shocked. You know, again, what you said is not a weakness, it's an illness. It's not something that they can snap out of. And if we're not knowledgeable of depression, of bipolar, or any other kind of mental illness, you know, it's like, look, I can't deal with you. You can't be, you know, just, we know what we say. We know what we say. Just create that environment or do some research yourself. I have several friends, male friends, who deal with depression, and all I know to do is to research. I just Google, you know, or I reach out like I've had you on before, and um, it's a serious issue, and it's not something to tiptoe around. And I'm glad you, again, just being transparent. But we talked before, Mark, about, have you thought any more about creating a group, a forum where people can come and share? You know, you mentioned maybe they don't want to talk to someone face to face, but if they had a place where they can go where nobody had to see them, a forum like
Right.
this, you know?
Yeah.
Um,
I hadn't really well, as far as a forum, I hadn't really been working on that. But
mhm.
that is good. Like I see some people on here, which is perfectly fine. They have an anonymous profile, and sometimes that's
Yeah,
necessary. You know,
yes, yeah,
and so it happens like that. Um, that would be good. But the thing about that is that I really don't know how to set it up. I would like to do that with people that I know that are counselors. Um,
okay,
to you
yeah,
know
the
anonymous
expert,
chat just like this. Where they type
right,
in and
right,
and just what's going on. I say it's a lot different when you don't have to when you
right.
don't have to look them in the face
No
and
face. Hmm.
everybody don't have a poker face. I know I don't. So
Right. No, you don't.
when you say something to somebody and they react, if they give you that face, then you don't feel like it's a safe space anymore. And
Right.
so that's why I tell folks, find somebody. Sometimes not good to talk to your friends. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
you should be able to talk to your woman. The woman should be able to talk to her man. Um, if
And if
y'all
they don't
got,
have a woman,
yeah,
a friend,
yeah, you
they
have to
don't have
find
a friend, you
somebody.
know,
But if you're
somebody.
in a relationship and you can't talk to your significant other, then
Mm.
you have some issues. Go beyond your mental health. You have some relationship issues. Me and Wendy both said both of us are broken. We know that. So our job is to fill in the empty spaces. And that's what a relationship do. You fill in the empty spaces where they're broken.
Hmm.
So together you can feel whole.
Okay. We got a few minutes left. You've spoken to the men. Say something to the women. Say something to the women.
Ladies, listen to you, man. When he's talking, not everything is a complaint. If he's had a bad day and he wants to talk about it, it's not necessarily complaining. Now, if you're talking about the way you cook or something like that, that's complaining, and y'all can deal with that in a different space. But sometimes he just wants to talk. We are told, ladies want to hear us talk without trying to fix it. They just want to talk. I got a bad habit. If Wendy tells me something, I get up immediately to try to fix it. But ladies, sometimes we just want to talk. You can't fix it. And we don't want to be considered to be weak. If we can't be vulnerable, not weak, if we can't be vulnerable with our significant other, or if it's a lady that has a male friend, if he can't be vulnerable with you, then you don't know where he might turn or what he might do. If they feel comfortable enough to talk to you and to try to share, be receptive, just listen. Um, and 6 months later, don't say, well, back then you said such and I knew. That doesn't help. Sometimes just have to listen. Um, and and just be there. Just be there. Um, don't allow your what you say or how you react to what he says shut him down. Um, we don't want to admit that we're fragile, but every human is fragile. Our psyche is delicate. You know, we cry too. A lot of time we do it in silence in our car where can't nobody see it, but we have the same emotions. You know, so just listen, give him a chance.
Just
Please.
listen. Just listen. That's probably the best piece of advice for us right there. Just listen. So if we are feeling, ladies, feeling helpless, unsure, ignorant of the whole mental health, just listen. That's huge right there. Just listen, not feeling obligated to fix anything. You mentioned earlier, it can't be fixed. It can't be fixed. You just tolerate it. You live with it. You have learned to live with it. So it is 7:59. Wendy, I kept hearing Wendy in the background. She's gonna kill me for this. Wendy, just say hi. You ain't gotta sit. Don't worry about your hair. You got pretty long.
Hi.
Just come and say hi. we need to see Mark's rock. Hey, Wendy.
Hi.
Get you one of these, fellas.
How sweet. How sweet. Thank you, Wendy.
Going back that way.
And again, Mark, thank you so much for your
Thank you.
transparency.
And for the fellas and ladies, talk to someone. Talk to someone. Tell your friends. Mental illness does not mean that you are crazy. Just remember that.
Okay, we're going to read two more and then we're going to close. Okay, Facebook user, even with our son, I told him that if he can't talk to me, find someone he can talk to. Exactly. Find somebody you can talk to. And Dr. Winborn, I was a counselor for years and I dealt with clients who were sad, depressed, and in many other areas along the spectrum of mental health. I helped when I could and I referred when necessary. That's good. Thank you for sharing, and thank you all for watching. Hey, Iselina. Thank you all for tuning in again. Share this with friends, family. They don't even have to be dealing with depression. They may know someone who's dealing with a mental health issue. Mental health awareness is important. And anytime, Mark, that you want to use my platform, uh, it's available. So I
Thank you.
appreciate it. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
you. And I'm going to let you 30 seconds close out.
I thank you for this opportunity. Once you, as a man, realize get help if you need it. We ask you to help those that think need it, but talk to somebody. Somebody. There's 988. That's the number. If you can't find nobody else to talk to, 988. Because you can talk to somebody if you can't look at them. If they're not giving you a facial expression of judgment. So if there's no one else to talk to, just about everybody got a cell phone. 988.
988. 988.
Use it.
988. Yes, please use it. And as he said, talk to somebody. Okay, I have to acknowledge, thank you again, Mark. I want to acknowledge my sponsor. Thank you, Dr. Winborn. Very good session. Thank you guys again for your support. Wednesday nights, we're here peeling back the layers. I'm always open to anyone who wants to use their voice, who wants to share their passion with others. You are more than welcome. And as I acknowledge my sponsor, Attorney Robert C. Allen, we're going to close out. And thank you again, Mark. Bye-bye.